Welcome to our event dedicated to helping with all the important tax and financial dates for your business this year. Today, I'm really excited to host this event during which we'll be talking about these key dates and what they mean for your business, discussing late filing and payments penalties, but more importantly, what you can do to get your business ready, and also how Tide and our different features can help with that. So you'll also have the opportunity to ask all your questions to our partner, Sapphire Accounting. Lee, thank you for being with us today. I will let Lee introduce himself in a minute. Before we start, just a quick tour of Zoom for those of you who haven't used it before. So depending on how you're watching us, there is a toolbar either at the bottom of your screen or at the top of your screen where you'll see a chat room and a Q&A room. We will be doing a long Q&A just after our fireside chat. So please do use it to ask all your questions you may have for Lee and his colleagues who will join him then for the Q&A. If there is any comment you'd like to make, please put those in the chat room. So yeah, comments in the chat room, questions in the Q&A box. And would love, to have all your questions. So please do keep them coming in. Right, amazing. I can see there's a good number of you watching us live. I might just give it a few minutes before we actually start the fireside chat with Lee. But in the meantime, I will now start to talk to you a bit more about Tide. So let me just go to my presentation. There we go. So for those of you who haven't been to an event before, my name is Valentine Hutchings, and I'm part of the event team here at Tide. And for those of you who are new to Tide, we want to give you a bit of an overview of the services. So we are the fastest growing online business current account provider in the UK, and we currently have over 300,000 members. Our aim is to provide our members with a service that saves them both time and money when it comes to their business banking. So the sign-up process is really quick and easy. It takes between 5 and 10 minutes, and you will then receive your sort code, account number, with your card coming a few days later. The app itself is really easy to set up and to use. We have a huge amount of in-app products that will make your banking a lot easier. You will see on my presentation right now on your screen a few of those tools. That includes our auto-categorization tool, so that categorize all your transactions for you, or invoice feature, which allows you to create, customize, and send professional invoices from the app. Many other features. I will also, just after our fireside chat with Lee, I will give you a bit of a preview on some exciting features that are coming up on Tide, so make sure you stay along for that too. Something I wanted to mention to you guys as well is that we also have some fantastic membership plans to help our members even further with their business. So that includes Tide Plus cashback. It's our brand new membership. It gives you 0.5% cashback on everything you spend on your card, but also 150 free transfers, 24/7 access to our legal helpline for both your professional and personal questions, as well as many other member perks. As you would have seen in your email invite for the members that are watching us live right now, we have given you the chance to upgrade to Plus Cashback for half the price for the next 6 months to try it out. So please do give us your feedback on that if you do upgrade to Cashback. One thing I wanted to let you know as well is that if your teammates, employees, co-workers have team cards for your account, then you earn cashback on what they spend too. So I'll talk to you a bit more about team cards a bit later on, and I'll talk about the upcoming features and how to make sure you stay up to date with what we're doing here at Tide. But for now, let's get on with the event. So I'll stop sharing my screen for that just a moment. So Lee, hi, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I will give the floor to you and let you introduce yourself, tell us a bit more about Sapphire Accounting and what you guys do there.
Yeah, thank you, Valentine. Thanks for inviting me, and thanks for everyone for joining this morning. I hope you find it very enjoyable. Yeah, my name's Lee Morrison. I'm a director at Sapphire Accounting. We are an accountancy provider for small businesses and contractors around the UK. Our company was born around about 7 or 8 years ago, with the intention of being a modern, proactive accountancy provider. So places I worked before were the type of accountants where I'd get in the morning and everyone would have a big pile of paper on the desk or on the floor that I'd have to fight past on the way to my computer. And I remember thinking, like, how can we possibly be giving clients a good service if we're not organised ourselves? So set about setting up a business where we use online software and we meet our clients regularly on Zoom or phone or for a coffee, and give them more proactive service. Yeah, that's me, and that's Sapphire.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Lee. Thank you for being with us today. So if we can be sure of one thing this year is that small businesses need to be agile, evolve quickly, but also be prepared, right? Although no one was prepared for what happened last year, but we're getting there. So Lee, can you tell us, the different tax dates that companies should be aware of this year?
Yeah, sure. Every business is different, but a lot of companies, especially small to medium-sized companies, will have to follow the same guidelines. So it could change whether you're VAT registered or not, whether you have people on the payroll or not. But in general, a vanilla company with none of those taxes will follow annual deadlines. So every company has to file company accounts to Companies House 9 months after its year end. So if your year end is the 31st of March 2021, which means you set up your company last year, that means you'll have to file your company accounts by the end of this year, by December, basically. Any corporation tax due, which is the main tax that businesses pay, that will also be due by the end of this calendar year. As well as that, you have to file a corporation tax return and the same set of accounts to HMRC, as well as Companies House. So that's where there's a need for everyone to have an accountant. You also have to do a confirmation statement annually, which is like an update for Companies House of shareholders, address changes, pretty basic things. So there are 3 annual deadlines that every company in the UK will have to adhere to, from startups to huge businesses. If your business is VAT registered, you then need to submit quarterly VAT returns. Some companies do monthly, but pretty much every business in the UK does quarterly VAT returns and pays back quarterly. So that gives a trigger to 4 more deadlines throughout the year. As well as that, the VAT man is a lot stricter than some of the other taxes. So they're deadlines that you just simply have to meet. That also gives a trigger to, right, we now need some software to be able to do our VAT returns because of making tax digital. So VAT registered businesses they need to have the house in order more than non-VAT registered businesses, I would say.
And actually, Lee, can you tell us a bit more about that? And for instance, do all businesses need to be VAT registered?
Not all limited companies need to be VAT registered. If your sales hit the VAT registration threshold, which is always in and around 85k, it does change year on year, but it's pretty much around there. So if you know your sales are going to hit that, or they already have hit that, you have to be VAT registered. But even if your sales aren't at that level yet, or you're just a startup, there can be benefits to registering, claiming, because you can then start to claim back on your bigger purchases. So if you went to the Apple store and bought a MacBook for £1,200 for your business, all of a sudden it becomes £1,000 rather than £1,200. But it depends. If your customers are other businesses that can claim the VAT back that you charge them, then it's good to register. if your customer, if you run a paper shop where you're selling to people who just walk in, who can't claim that back, then there's complications with your pricing. So yeah, we take a case by case view on VAT registration, to be honest.
Right. It is very much case by case, right? So this is why please do everyone put your questions in the Q&A box, because then Lee and his two colleagues are really going to go into details for your different situations. What I wanted to do right now, I'm going to launch a poll on your screen. We wanted to get to know you a bit better. So if you can just tell us if you are a limited company or sole trader. Lee just talked about companies and directors, and we are going to move on in a minute to individuals. So, right, okay, we've got 86% of limited companies. That's the vast majority of members watching us live right now. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, well, I think another thing to point out for just to finish what the main tax is for limited companies. So you've got your annual deadlines to HMRC and Companies House. You've got your quarterly deadlines if your company's VAT registered. Now, if you also have a PAYE scheme, so that's a limited company who has one director, might have themselves on the payroll because there's tax advantages to that. Then you have monthly deadlines to hit, because you have to submit a payroll RTI return each month. If you have general staff that you employ as well, that have been with you for a qualifying period, and you may also need to have a pension scheme for them. So then that's a monthly thing as well. So VAT all of a sudden makes your deadlines quarterly. Any sort of payroll makes them monthly and more ongoing. There are other taxes. It's quite a lot actually. Some businesses can do R&D claims depending on their industry. Some businesses in construction will have to do CIS returns. There's probably too many to talk about, but they're the main three: are corporation tax, VAT, and pay as you earn.
Fantastic, thank you so much. And that just the poll result just came in, very nice round numbers. We have got, watching us live today, 90% of limited companies and 10% of sole traders. So for the 10% watching us live today, and for the many more that I'm sure will catch up on our video on YouTube when we post it tomorrow, can you tell us a bit more about the individuals, what they need to do, like self-assessment tax return, for instance? Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, any individual that's in business, either as a contractor or a tradesperson, or anyone in business that's not a limited company, they only really have the annual deadlines of submitting a self-assessment to HMRC. Now, if your self-assessment is pretty basic, it's called self-assessment because you can go online and do it yourself, self-assessed. A lot of people prefer to use an accountant to do it because then you can get advice on what expenses you can claim. So the only thing a sole trader needs to worry about is, firstly, if you're not registered and don't have a UTR, you need to do that with HMRC. You can do that online or over the phone, and you need to do it within 3 months of when you start your trade. And then you have your annual deadlines. So if you started, let's say you started in July last year, partway through the 2021 tax year, that tax year ends on the 5th of April this year, and you'll then have until January next year, January 2022, to submit your tax return. So actually, things are done annually, and then you get 9 months to submit your return. So a lot less stressful than a limited company. There's less tax advantages as well, but you'd be amazed. Most people still do wait until the 31st of January to get things sorted.
I was going to ask, Lee, I can imagine there's no reminders from HMRC, right? You have to keep those dates in mind yourself.
They do remind you, as long as you've done the initial bit of actually registering yourself at the proper address, then you will actually get a letter. But you'd be amazed at the amount of times those letters go missing, or just, yeah. But anyone who comes onto our database, we remind them anyway after the tax year ends.
Right. Okay. Because as soon as it's a paper reminder, it just opens the door to missing letters, changing addresses. So best to keep in mind and have those dates on records digitally, right?
what we do for a business or an individual for all of the taxes that have been mentioned is we register as a tax agent for every single tax. That means the post comes to us as well as the individual or business, and also we have access to our own online portal, which an individual or business doesn't. So we can see these things and before the letters that go into the client, for example, become less important because we can capture them online before they even go there.
Right, absolutely. Thank you so much for this, Lee. I think it's very important to remind all small business owners. One thing that I wanted to mention today is that there's now a lot of different help and softwares available to make business owners' lives easier, right? Like Tide being one of those solutions to just make sure small business owners spend less and less time on admin, but more time on growing the business. So what I wanted to ask you today is your recommendation and tips for around accounting software, because that's one of the big things, how to make small business owners' life easier today. So the first question really I have about that is, do all businesses need to be on some form of accounting software?
Smaller businesses that have just started don't need to be on it. So if your business is VAT registered, then you have to file your VAT returns through some sort of software. Of course, that's part of Making Tax Digital, which came in a couple of years ago. So VAT registered business absolutely have to be on software. Non-VAT registered business don't have to be, but I usually still recommend it because it's a lot cheaper. So software is advertised at on average maybe £20 a month or something like that. But they know that the people that don't need to be on it might not use it, so they offer a cheaper. Most of them offer a cheaper solution, maybe even like £5-10 a month. So for the sake of making it easy for themselves, their own bookkeeper or their own accountant, I would recommend it to everyone, even people who don't need it really.
Right. Okay, that's very good to know. And for those of you out there watching us live or watching us later on YouTube, I think it's very interesting to note that depending on the size of your business, you might have access to different pricing. So something to bear in mind. In terms of the actual software, which software do you recommend for the different type of businesses?
Yeah, we take each we use every single type of online software. Well, pretty much we use all the main ones, and we take each. If we get a new client, we'll take it a case by case basis. So most of our clients are on Xero. I would say 80% are on Xero. That tends to be good for everybody, whether you're a contractor, a limited company that's been going 10 years and has 20 members of staff, you'd still be able to use Xero. It's great for reporting for the accountant and for the business owner themselves if they want to use it. It gives great management reports and cash flow reports. So we tend to recommend that. A lot of our clients though, because QuickBooks Online is well advertised, a lot of our clients that we've picked up that have set up their own companies before coming to us, they've signed up for QuickBooks themselves, find it quite user friendly for people, for directors that are doing their own bookkeeping. So when they come to us, we don't say, "Oh, we need to jump you onto Xero," because we say, if you're comfortable using that, so are we. And then we have quite a lot of clients that are contractors, and contractors a lot of them tend to like Free Agent because that is aimed at the contractor market. And we're familiar with that as well. But yeah, Xero is my personal favorite, but I think they're all brilliant, to be honest.
Fantastic. And I think you said something very interesting, which is whichever software the company director is more comfortable with, right? Because essentially they need to be happy to use it and to actively use it to make sure they're on top of everything and all their admin, right?
Correct. A lot of busy people just want to do the bare minimum. So a lot of our clients, when they first start, we'll help them link the bank to the software. That gives us the basics that we need to be able to do their accounts. And then clients may only want to use it then to send an invoice to a customer, for example, or as a home to store their receipts so they can throw the paper receipts away. So a lot of our clients only want to use it for those basic things, and then the actual nitty-gritty of the bookkeeping they prefer us to do. So yeah, again, case by case basis for each client.
Right. And talking about the bare minimum, Lee, if there is one thing the business owners watching us today should be doing today, you know, I'm a big fan of the one quick thing you can do to, you know, just get it going or improve the situation. Obviously, if you know, members and business owners are joining us today, is that they want to get ready for the year ahead and, you know, meet those tax and financial deadlines. So what is the one thing they can do today?
Yep, you put me on the spot, Valentine. But what I would say is something I've been trying to teach myself to do recently, actually, and that's maybe think of where you want your business or your career to be in 5-3 a year's time. Get that in your mind first, and then work towards it. Because even without coronavirus, you could lose a client. You could lose a fairly big client in the next few weeks for no fault of your own, or because of coronavirus or something random. But that shouldn't stop you trying to achieve the longer term goal. So if you've got a target in mind of like, right, I want my business to be here in 3 years, there will be obstacles along the way. As long as you know where you want to get to, and you've got to, I'd say, write it down, even if it's just on not even software, just have it recorded. That's where I want to get to. If there's huge problems along the way, as long as I know, like, I can get to the end of that 3 years, even if I'm only 80% of where I want to be, you'll still be in a better position than you are today. So that would be my advice.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Lee. Sorry for putting you on the spot.
No, it's okay.
I think it's also worth maybe reminding the small business owners watching us that maybe don't use accounting services or accountants, that your accountant is also going to help you with that, right? It's also, they are also going to help you have the vision for your business, think ahead, have that plan for the 2, 3, 5 years ahead.
Yeah, a lot of what I've mentioned about the actual deadlines, a lot of them tend to be historic. And so if I use the limited company annual accounts, for example, when your limited company year ends, so if it ends on the 31st of March, you get 9 months to prepare your accounts. Now, if you wait until November, December, and to work with your accountant, you're talking about stuff that's out of date by the best part of 21 months. So yeah, you need to be working with your accountant. The way we work with our clients is on a monthly basis. All our fees are monthly, and that's to encourage ongoing communication. So we're not just saying, right, this is what happened last year, this is your tax bill, see you in a year's time sort of thing. It's no, this is where we're at. Let's discuss where we want to be, put plans in place to get there, whether that's from the basics of accountancy systems or helping clients take on the first member of staff or the 20th member of staff, or dealing with clients when they want to buy each other out because they've done so well. Yeah, we can be there from the start to the end of the journey. Fantastic.
I think that sounds absolutely great. And I'm sure, not being a small business owners myself, but knowing a lot of them, I'm sure it's also a relief to have, you know, that kind of support. For those that can't, at the beginning of the journey, that maybe can't afford right now accounting services, we've talked about the accounting softwares, right? And there is also a lot of free tools out there to help them with that.
Yes, yeah. The accounting software being a bare minimum, it's only, again, depending on what your needs are, but around about £20 a month, even if you're obviously not going to get the advice of professionals with that, but you can do the basics of having your books in order and knowing where things are up to on a month by month basis. So yeah, it doesn't have to be expensive to at least start the process of having good accounts or good accounting systems.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Lee, for all these great insights. That was very helpful. We hope you all find it helpful. Before we move on to the cash prize draw and our Q&A, do please all take a moment now to put your questions in the Q&A box. because Lee will be joined by James and Jake from Sapphire Accounting to reply to all your questions. We'll reply to them live so that it gives you also more room to continue asking the questions. So just pop them over in the Q&A box now, please. Whilst you are doing this, whilst you are typing your question, many of you, when giving feedback about our events, requested to learn more about Tide products. So I wanted to give you a bit of a preview, really, of some features that either just launched or are about to launch. So for that, I will share my screen again. Bear with me 1 second, if I can do this now. There we go. Right, so the first feature product that I wanted to mention that some of you may know is the receipts importer. So we all have too many receipts, but as business owners, you need to keep track of your expenditures. HMRC requires you to have records, whether digital or physical, of all the different receipts and expenses. So we've built some tools to help you with this. As I've mentioned in the beginning, we allow our members to categorize the transaction. We also have an auto categorization feature, which is very helpful to save you time with this. But what I wanted to show you today is the receipts importer. As you know, you can take a picture of your receipt and attach it to the transaction in your Tide app. That's all very easy. What we recently launched with the receipts importer is the possibility for members to capture the receipt and on the go, on their mobile, and that's what you can see on the video right now. The text of the receipt is going to be scanned and matched to the transaction automatically. So what we've done here is really automate the expense management process. The idea is really that you can throw your receipt to Tide and we will organize them for you. So there we go. As you can see on the video, that's all matched now. The receipt has been scanned and it's been attached to the transaction. You can add a note as well if you want, and that's all here for you, nicely done and organized. I also wanted to talk to you about our upcoming feature. So what's next? We will be launching a VAT registration service in the second quarter of the year. So the service will be managed by a third party who are experts in VAT and charge at a competitive nominal fee. So please do look out for that. And what is also coming in as a new feature for our team cards or expense cards, as some of you know it, from April, you'll be able to set monthly spending limits for any expense card holder. This has been requested a lot by our members. So I know a few of you are going to be excited to be able to order team cards for their team members, co-workers, colleagues, and be able to set monthly limit for each of those cards. And also will allow multi-user access in the future. So these are both, features to look forward to. Please do comment on the chat box if you have any comments about those, for those of you who maybe are really looking forward to those. Now we are going to move on to our raffle. It's time to pick out the 3 winners. If you've ordered a team card between Thursday last night in the past few days, as explained in the email, you have been entered in our prize draw. So let's just move on to this. Our 3 winners are Aaron, Matthew, and Haroon. I hope I pronounced this right. So congratulations to all 3 of you. If you want, our team is reaching out right now to you on the in-app chat to confirm which of the 300, 200 or 100 pound cash prize you won. If you want to comment on the chat box, please do. We'd love to congratulate you. Just to remind you a tiny bit, for those of you who didn't join the raffle, didn't order team cards, and our team cards we talked about are, to help you really manage your expenses a lot more easier with your team, allowing you to order team team cards for your team, you can order up to 35 team cards. So, it's definitely something to look into if you have more, if it's more than one of you. If you are a paid plan members, you get if you're a plus member, you get 1 free team card in your membership. If you're a cashback or premium member, you get 3 free team cards in your membership. So if you have any question about those, please do ask away. We'd love to help with that. Right, I will stop sharing my screen now because it's time to move on to our Q&A. And I'm going to welcome James and Jake back in the room, and let's kick this. Hi, James.
Are you okay?
Yeah, great to see you. Thank you for joining us. Hi, Jake.
Hi, Valentine.
How are you guys doing? Thank you for joining us. Let's kickstart this. I think we have a few questions. James and Jake, I see you have already answered some of those. What about the sole traders tax payments? There's a few of those. Maybe we can come back to those and comment them live for everyone to see in a minute. Let's just move to the ones that haven't been answered just now. So, okay, we have a question from Louise, which is, I deferred my VAT bill last May. When will this need to be paid?
Yeah, that's actually quite a timely one. So the VAT deferral was something that came in as soon as lockdown started last year to help businesses with cash flow. Basically, it wasn't to say you can't pay your VAT. It was an initiative to say we'll help you out and delay it for a year. The initial date, 31st of March 21, when it was supposed to be paid, but actually there's been talk for a few months of that being delayed, or of initiative to let you pay over the next 12 months. And there was actually a link on HMRC's website yesterday with how to do it. So you have to log on, request to pay it over 12 months, and then you can pay it in, I think, 12 equal installments as of March, basically. Or you can stick to the original plan and pay it all off in March if you prefer. I'm guessing most people won't want to do that.
Great, thank you so much. There's another question, and I think we can link that to another one. What salary should I pay myself as a director?
Yeah, that's again, anything like this that concerns an individual, we do take on a case by case basis, because sometimes clients come to us and they might have a few properties that they rent out that affects a personal situation. So everyone that comes to us gets like an individual health check. So even if you're an owner of a company, and our main focus is to look after your company, you'll get an individual health check as well. But as a general rule of thumb, most directors pay themselves a salary of around the personal allowance, so £12,500 a year. That saves corporation tax for the company. There's no tax or national insurance for the individual. The individual's state pension pot is being topped up every year, just like if they're in a full-time job. So there's loads of benefits to doing that. So that would be the generic answer.
Right, thank you. Let's move on to Alison's question. So can Lee assist with very small businesses making a loss business owner of 2 years?
Yeah, so whether a business is making a loss or a profit, if it's a limited company, they still need to follow the deadlines that I mentioned earlier. So that's if it is a limited company. Obviously, if that business is just a sole trade business, they still need to put that loss on a tax return. They may get loss relief against other income. As a company, if you're making a loss, you get loss relief against your future profits of the company. Or you may want to work with an accountant and on a more hands-on basis who can actually make it a profitable business. Do you know what I mean? Rather than just reporting on the numbers. So yeah, we can help with that.
Great. Thank you so much, Alison. I hope that was helpful. There is a question from John. if I'm looking for just year-end tax filing support as a limited company and would be supplying full digital account using Zoho Books, hope I say this correctly, from which to work from, could you give me an idea of what that service might cost?
Yeah, so costs, again, that business could come to us where the clients had a bookkeeper do the books for the year and everything is perfect. They've turned over like a modest figure. So for that, we'd start at something like £600 plus VAT. But that same question could apply to someone who has done their own books in Zoho for the year, but they're literally all over the place. They don't make sense. There's bank transactions missing. The business has turned over £10 million, so it's a much more complex job. So that can range from the hundreds up into the thousands. But yeah, just to give a rough guide, it would start from £600.
Great, thank you so much, John. We hope that answers your question. Another one that we have, which I think is super interesting, and I know we've done a lot of content at Tide about this, but I think it's interesting to cover it, especially maybe for people that will watch us on YouTube whilst doing research, whilst setting up their company. Is it better to be a sole trader or set up a limited company?
Yeah, so we get asked this a lot, and there's sort of no immediate right answer, but the benefits of setting up a limited company are, well, the only real negative, firstly, is that you immediately have more deadlines to hit, like I spoke of before, and you'll get more posts in the first few months. You have a live company on Companies House that you have a responsibility for. So from the day you set one up, you do have more responsibilities and you have an actual live business. As well as the extra flexibility in terms of positives there, as well as the extra flexibility around extra expenses you can put through, or maybe being able to employ people. There's just a flexibility in general. So you don't pay personal tax on your company earnings unless you actually take the money out. So you could choose to make money, pay corporation tax, which at the moment is 19%. Where if you're a sole trader, you pay tax on your profit no matter what. So if you're a higher rate taxpayer, you're paying 40% tax on your profit, and it's pretty much unavoidable. Whereas a company, there's more allowances on expenses. You pay corporation tax rate at 19%, no national insurance, and then you have the choice then of what you do with the rest of that money. You can leave it in there to grow the business. You can take it out. You can put it into a pension. You can do lots of quirky things to help yourself from a cash flow point of view and a tax point of view. So for smaller businesses, the actual tax relief isn't as huge as it once was, but there's so much more flexibility with a limited company that if you've got an extra 10 minutes a week to cope with the admin, it'd be better to be limited, I would say.
Great, thank you so much. That's super helpful. And once again, we also have like a lot of content about this on our blog if you want to read some more about if you should choose to be a limited or a sole trader. Now, in terms of there is another tax rate questions. What is the tax rate on dividends? If one of you wants to take this one.
Yeah, the guys are muted, so I'll answer them all since I'm on a roll. But yeah, every individual in the UK gets a £2,000 dividend allowance. So whether you've got your own limited company or you've got a few shares in Tesla and you're getting a dividend paid out, your first £2,000 tax free. It then goes up in stages. So everything else you earn your earnings up to £50,000 or dividends up to £50,000 are taxed at 7.5%. And then the rates go up to 32.5%, and then the highest rate is 38.1%. There's no national insurance, but those are the tax rates on dividends. But yeah, you can probably see it depends what tax bracket you're in. So you get. But in summary, your first 50 will either be tax free or at 7.5%, which is really low, and it does shoot up to basically a third of your dividends.
Cool. Okay. Well, thank you so much for that. There is a question for me that I'll take right now. Can you please clarify if we can receive international payments in euro as Tide customers? Okay, so some Tide members with limited companies have a Tide international currency account. If that's the case for you, there is a full list on our blog of which countries you can make payments and receive payments from. I'm happy to put it in the comments box, in the chat box. If that's not the case for you, and for most of our members cannot make international payments yet. So payments can only be made and received from UK accounts for now. What you can do is use a third-party services to send and receive international payments. Right, so Sonia, I hope that's helpful as an answer. Now, with all the 8 answered questions, I don't know if any of you wanted to, maybe some of them we replied on the chat, if you wanted to maybe talk about them a bit more live to give a bit more information.
Yeah, let me just go on the answered section. Somebody, I think it was John, maybe somebody asked for my contact details. So I've replied to one person with my contact details. But if anyone doesn't feel comfortable speaking in the chat, maybe drop me an email later on or whatever, and I'd be happy to give you some impartial advice. So somebody's put, what happens with a property company when you have not traded or have a deal, but your company is VAT registered, but you have not submitted quarterly accounts because no trade happened? I think just in general, whether it's a property investment company or not, just to answer that one, if you've done no trade, even though you do have to meet the same deadlines for no matter what industry you're in, if you've done no trade at all, you can speak to us or your accountant about submitting dormant accounts, or even if the company's VAT registered but hasn't traded, you can submit nil VAT returns. So you still have to hit the same deadlines, but you can submit like blank returns to HMRC and Companies House. They do accept that. So I think that answers Denise's question. Mohammed has asked about sole trader tax payments, and I think James has answered that perfectly. But just to touch on it a bit more, the tax year ends on the 5th of April, or the tax year that we're in at the moment ends on the 5th of April. You get until the 31st of January the following year, so 31st of January 2022, to submit any tax due in that year. So you get 9 months to prepare your return and make the payment, which sounds a lot, but it does soon fly by, mainly because people leave it till, not us, but clients leave it till the last minute. I think we've pretty much given detailed answers to the rest, but like I said, people are welcome to contact us after this.
Fantastic. And I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind, any of you to put in the chat room, rather than just the Q&A box, your website and how can members contact you if they want to ask you further question after this. If you can just put it in the chat box as well, that'd be fantastic. Right, Sonia is thanking us. That was incredibly helpful. Well, thank you so much, Sonia. I'm really happy that this was helpful. Now we have one last question. If anyone wants to ask a last question, now is the time. Please do put it in the Q&A box. We'd love to. We still have a few minutes, so we'd love to answer those. I can see, hello, please can I have your contact details? Yep, okay. Contact details. Yep, absolutely. Thank you, James, for sharing this. If you can maybe also share Sapphire Accounting's website for that, for our members to go and have a look at it. There is a last question. Is Tide planning on adding an accounting element? Would be great to have everything in one place. So we have loads of accounting software integration. We are definitely, we have all of those to make your life easier. Now, maybe because Lee, you know, you've been working with your clients and Tide for a long time, maybe you can just talk about how we work with software, accounting software, and also accounting partners.
Yeah, so is this to answer the recent question from Daniel? I think Daniel's popped a question in the Q&A. I'll just answer the way we work with Tide and all software. If a client comes to us I'll just use a startup because it's an easier explanation. But if we were to help someone set up a business today, either over the phone, we used to always do it face to face when it was a bit more practical to do so. We set up a company we can have the incorporation certificate back within 24 hours, and we then say, right, the director's main job after that is to set up a business bank account. So they need us to set up the company. We then give them the certificate of incorporation, which is the tool to go and set up the bank account. And if you use Tide, you can download the app on your phone. You can do it online, but you can also download the app on your phone, and it's as simple as using the certificate that we give you, answering a few questions, uploading a copy of your ID, and I think taking a selfie to prove it's you on your phone. And in general, you can have your company open and your bank account open within a few days, whereas 5-10 years ago, you'd have to go for an interview with someone at a high street bank. So by the time you scheduled that into your diary and they've sent you away with a load of questions and paperwork, it was a bit of a nightmare, and it still is in other countries. But in the UK, with people like us in Tide, it's very, very smooth and easy.
Great, thank you so much, Lee. Thank you for this. Now, I think there is one question from Daniel. I have recently set up a limited company and I have registered for corporation tax. What should be my next step to help me with my books?
Yeah, so depending on what industry and trade Daniel does. Again, I've mentioned VAT a few times, but if Daniel was selling to other companies that are VAT registered, then it would be a no-brainer for Daniel to also VAT register, because what he would do, he would charge 20% VAT to his customers. They don't care because they're just claiming that back from HMRC. But then it also gives Daniel the tool to claim 20% back on his costs. So I'll use the Apple Store again as an example. When Daniel then goes into the Apple Store to buy the MacBook for £200, it just all of a sudden, just by VAT registering, it becomes £1,000. And there's no real extra admin to Daniel there other than uploading his receipt to Tide or Xero, whichever platform he likes, and then we do the actual VAT returns. If Daniel's not VAT registered, and he's just set up his limited company and registered for corporation tax, I presume he's also set up a business account. If he hasn't set up a business account, that is one thing he needs to do, because you shouldn't be getting any limited company earnings, shouldn't be going anywhere near your personal account. So Daniel, if you haven't already set up a business account, you need to do that. But if you don't really have any deadlines looming, actual stressful deadlines looming until you register for VAT or pay as you earn. But we're coming into a new tax year, so I would recommend, again, depending on your situation, speaking to us or an accountant of your choice about putting yourself on the payroll of the company. So while at the moment you can sleep at night knowing that you've got no upcoming deadlines, you might be best going on accounting software. You might be best employing yourself with the company to save yourself some tax. So there are still some proactive things you can do.
Great, that's fantastic. Do we have any other questions? I think Daniel was the last question. So, thank you all for all these brilliant questions. Now I'd like to thank Lee, James, and Jake for sharing their expertise, taking the time to answer all those questions. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us today. What I'm going to do right now is please do take a second to just rate today's event. We'd love to have feedback. We will also follow up with you guys and ask for a few feedback in terms of what you thought about the session. Fantastic. I can see a lot of you, answering this right now. What I am also going to do is I'm going to share on the chat box a few links to keep up to date with our events, what we're up to. I've now shared the links to our events and social media pages in the chat room. Great, so a lot of you have really liked the session, so thank you so much. Once again, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here today. Thank you so much, Lee, James, and Jake, for being here today and answering all of these questions. That was fantastic to have you. And I hope to see you all at our future events.
Thank you, Valentine.
No worries, thanks for having us.
Thank you, Valentine, and thanks for everyone's participation as well.
Thank you to all. Bye. Have a really good day. Bye-bye.
Cheers, bye.
Cheers, bye.